What's up, everybody? My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review. Now, I'm going to do a review of All In. It was a pay-per-view that was put together by a bunch of independent wrestling organizations, and very cool. I mean, you have New Japan Pro Wrestling here, you have Ring of Honor, Lucha Libre AAA, and Impact Wrestling had some stars there. So, all these companies, they come together to put on this one pay-per-view for the love of wrestling. I thought it was very, very cool. I thought it was a great idea. And it really opened me up because I'm a guy who has mainly watched WWE and NXT. I love NXT. WWE has fallen very short of the mark for the most part for me lately. And when I say lately, like the last several years. And so honestly for me, this took me back to a time when I really loved wrestling. You know, there were things about it you just don't see in WWE anymore. I have watched Impact before. It got a bit cheesy for me, a little bit too just not great. And I've seen a few episodes of like Ring of Honor that I don't know that they really did anything for me. And that was some time ago though, to be fair. So, I mean, I've mainly been a WWE guy, WCW when that was in, and like I said, some Impact. I even went to some Impact Wrestling tapings, but it just didn't do that much for me after a while. It started cool and then really fizzled out. But for this show in particular, I thought it was very good. I really thought that they did what they wanted to do for the most part. And it introduced me to a lot of guys and girls I was not familiar with in the wrestling industry. So that was fun too. Some names I've heard several times, like Kota Ibushi, Chelsea Green. You know, names that I've heard a lot of but just haven't seen. So, let's start this out. You have Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, versus Matt Cross. Now, both of these guys are completely uncharted territory for me. Didn't know anything about either one of these guys. And it was funny because when I first saw Matt Cross, you know, he's got pretty much gray hair now. There's not really much pepper left in the salt. And, you know, kind of hair is going away in parts too. So, I mean, he looks in good shape and he doesn't look old in the face, but he does look like an older guy. So I didn't know what to expect from this dude. And, you know, he's pretty impressive for an older guy. He's very acrobatic, definitely agile, and I was impressed. Like, it was a good starting match. It kind of gets you pumped up. There was some really good spots there. At the end of the day, Cross won. Now, I don't know any of these guys, so I don't know storylines. I'm just going by what I see in this show. And for the match itself, it was really good. Then Sean Mooney, he interviews Nick Aldis backstage. I am familiar with Nick Aldis. I really like him, actually, so very cool. And I didn't know he was married to Mickie James. That was something I found out during this show. But really, you know, nothing spectacular to the interview. He's just there talking about his match. He's, of course, going up against Cody Rhodes later. And then I didn't realize that Stephen Amell had a match. Stephen Amell, who has worked with Cody Rhodes before in WWE, and they had a couple of matches, very cool. And they were talking about how Stephen Amell is undefeated as a wrestler up until this point. So he comes down, Stephen Amell does, with Josh Segura, and he faces Christopher Daniels, who I'm very familiar with from his time in TNA. Christopher Daniels is honestly one of my favorite wrestlers from that time. He put on some clinics with AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. So Daniels come down with Kazarian and some other dude. And the match itself actually had some really cool spots. Stephen Amell really put his body on the line a couple of times. Like there was a spot where he jumped from the top post to a table outside. And it was funny because the crowd was chanting Broken Arrow. So I thought that was really cool. I thought it was a really good spot. They've had a few good spots in the match. Stephen Amell shows he does this because he likes to do it, because he's kind of got this interest now since, you know, meeting up with Cody Rhodes and befriending him and doing the matches at WWE. At the end of the day, Christopher Daniels wins. I've always liked Christopher Daniels, so I cannot complain either way with this match. It was cool to watch. a lot of fun. That's all you can say about it. The next match was a Fatal 4-Way Women's match. You had Dr. Britt Baker, completely unfamiliar with her. Madison Rayne, I was pretty familiar with her from Impact. Chelsea Green, who I've heard a lot of but never seen in a ring. And Tessa Blanchard, who I didn't know about at all. So, this match, every woman in here had a good spot. There were definitely chants of this is awesome and all in and blah 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 during this match because the woman, Chelsea Green in particular, for me, I've never seen her before. Like I said, I kind of paid attention to her because I've heard her name, mainly just because she's dating Zack Ryder, and you know they're both on Twitter all over each other, and you know. So I was kind of interested though, just because it's somebody you kind of hear about and never seen before. And she fucking killed it. Like, there are a few moves that she pulled off you just will not see in the women's division in WWE. I was honestly very impressed. Tessa Blanchard, she's very powerful. She's got a strong look. So that was cool too. At the end of the day, the very, very last spot where Tessa Blanchard hits this DDT on Chelsea, gets the pin. It looked a little awkward, like maybe she was supposed to get out. But the referee called the win. Tessa gets it. And there you go. So that's the end of the first hour of a 4-hour pay-per-view. The second hour only has 2 matches. And that's firstly Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis. Cody just gets a pop like nothing. And Nick Aldis, he comes out, you know, of course he's the heel. And like the crowd instantly booing. They're chanting, "Fuck you, Aldis." Very vocal Chicago crowd. Which I love because Chicago is just a wrestling city. And I will say, you also have appearances by Diamond Dallas Page, Tommy Dreamer, Glacier, Jeff Jarrett. There were a few other guys in both Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis' corner. The only thing I really have as a negative to this match in particular is Cody Rhodes does a spot where he's on the top and he jumps outside to Nick Aldis on the ground. And Nick Aldis hits him with an elbow, kind of catches him in midair, and there was a spot where, like, the referee's holding up the X like Cody Rhodes might be hurt, except, you know, of course he's just fine. And the camera, you know, shows his face, and his face is just fine. There's no red, there's no cuts, and then you cut away and come back, and all of a sudden he's bloody as hell. So they kind of screwed that up a little bit. Other than that, it was a really good match. Cody Rhodes picks up the win, picks up the belt, which I thought was very cool. And there you go. That was the match. After that, you have Joey Janela with Penelope Ford versus Hangman Adam Page. It's a Chicago street fight in Chicago, so you know it better be damn good. Never seen either of these guys. Both of them are highly athletic, highly inventive. They used an actual barrel from Cracker Barrel as a weapon in the match. Adam Page, man, he's got this springboard like clothesline. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's very, very athletic and very cool looking. They definitely had some rough spots in this match, falling on ladders and off of ladders onto tables and things like that. So very good match. Definitely kind of takes your breath away. At the end of the day, Adam Page gets the win. I really like both of these guys. So far there's at least 3 guys that I've really taken notice of. Matt Cross, Adam Page, and Joey Janela. And this Penelope Ford girl, there was a spot in the middle where she gets involved with Adam Page, and she is incredibly athletic as well. Like, I was really impressed with her. So that was something to keep an eye on for sure. And after the match, Joey Ryan comes out now. If you don't know Joey Ryan, he's got this gimmick where he does this thing called Penisplex. And so they had this, like, kind of comical thing where these guys come out in these, like, penis costumes. And it was a little campy and a little over the top, but, I mean, that's kind of Ryan's gimmick. So he comes out, everybody laughs, he takes off. And then you have somebody I'm not familiar with, Flip Gordon. He's with Randy Rhoads, and he's taking on Jay Lethal, and he is with Lonnie Poffo. Now, Flip Gordon I don't know. Never seen him before, not familiar. Jay Lethal, again, going back to Impact Wrestling. I am familiar with him and his Macho Man gimmick that he does. And that's kind of why he came out here with Lonnie Poffo. Lonnie Poffo, you know, Macho Man Randy Savage's brother in real life. So, they're both kind of paying tribute to Randy Savage. Flip Gordon is amazingly athletic. Like, this guy, acrobatic amazement. Like, this guy is just all over the ring. He's like another Ricochet. He can move very quickly and just do some crazy moves. Jay Lethal, I've really liked for a while. I like him as Jay Lethal, though. You know, like him being the character that he has, Jay Lethal, instead of the macho Jay Lethal. Because it is impressive to see him take over the character of Randy Savage. But that was Randy Savage, you know, BJ Lethal. But it works, and there were times where it was like, you know, parts of the match he was like transformed into the Macho Man version of Jay Lethal, and then other times he was actually his own character. So it kind of worked in some ways. Really cool match, though. I did like it. Jay Lethal comes out with the win. That was Ring of Honor World Championship match, so Jay Lethal's still champion. It was pretty cool, I gotta say. And then after the match, Bully Ray, some of you know him as Bubba Ray in WWE, part of the Dudley Boys, he attacks Gordon, and he actually attacks Jay Lethal as well. And he's setting up a table, and he's getting ready to do something to Gordon, and then Colt Cabana comes down, spears Bully Ray, and then they kind of do the powerbomb thing into the table with, you know, Flip Gordon, Jay Lethal, and Colt Cabana doing the powerbomb. And that's kind of where you leave that off. And then the next match is Penta El Zoro, or Zero, however the hell you say it, versus Kenny Omega. One I'm not familiar with because I haven't watched Impact Wrestling in a while, and apparently that's where he's from. Kenny Omega I'm very familiar with. I really like his style. I really like his wrestling. And he's one of those guys that just really catches you. I've seen his match with Chris Jericho. I've seen his matches with Okada. So I'm a fan of Kenny Omega. And like any other Kenny Omega match, this was pretty damn good. A lot of really good spots in here. A lot of twists and turns in the match. You know, a lot of close calls. Is this guy going to win? Is that guy going to win? They just did a really good job with it. At the end of the day, Kenny Omega, he finally wins, and then it looks like Penta El Zero is coming back into the ring, except you can tell it's Chris Jericho because he's got the, you know, Jericho arm tattoos. So Jericho attacks Omega, pulls the mask off, and voila, there's Jericho, and the crowd, of course, pops. And he puts a plug in for his Jericho Cruise. So now, we're already at the end of 3 hours at this point. And so far, the show has just been very, very, very good. And they start off the very last hour with Marty Scurll, who I do not know, versus Okada. Kazuchika Okada is absolutely amazing. The guy, he really does pull off some amazing matches. Now, before the match starts, you get a very bad backstage bit with Marty Scurll, or Scurll, or whatever it is. These guys pointing the fingers in his face, and, you know, he goes, acts like he's breaking their fingers, and giving this goofy... It was a little over the top, a little too campy for me. I don't know the gimmick, I don't know the wrestler, so... It was lost on me, and it wasn't done very well. And if there was any complaint of the night, it was that backstage bit. And that's really it. I mean, it was a very good show. But to get him in the ring versus Okada, it was actually a very good match. And the guy, Marty Scurll, is very technically sound. Like, he was on the mat doing some mat wrestling that I really, really liked. He's also very good at high flying, too. So putting him with Okada, it just really made for a good match. It really did. And it was funny because, like, before the match really got underway, they, like, did a little face-off, you know, standing nose to nose, except it was more like chin to forehead because Okada's a lot taller. But at the end of the day, Okada, he picks up the win, which I kind of expected because, you know, he's kind of a big deal in, you know, the independent wrestling circuit. But very good match, though. I was really impressed. And the last match of the night, it kind of surprised me because they actually had a 6-man tag match for the end of the show and not one of the title matches. I figured somebody like Okada or Omega or even Cody Rhodes would finish the show, but they finished with the Golden Elite, Kota Ibushi with Matt and Nick Jackson, which this is my first time seeing Kota Ibushi. I've heard a lot about him, but never seen him before. So this was cool. Versus Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix, and Bandito. 3 lucha guys who really set the pace for this match. And like this match, it was pretty short. It was incredibly fast paced. And I think that's what they wanted to do to end the show, is to just put on, like, you know, almost a free-for-all, 3-on-3, high-octane match, which they delivered. Rey Mysterio looked as good as ever. He was pulling off some amazing moves. All the credit in the world to him, because he's not exactly a young guy anymore, and he's out there killing it. Which can be said for a few of these guys. Like, I gotta say, I was impressed. The Golden Elite, not having seen these guys before, really put them on the map for me. Like, they were doing some insane shit. Like, I was really just super, super impressed with all of them. And not just Kota Ibushi, but Matt and Nick Jackson, too. I was super impressed. So it was a very good, very fun match. Golden Elite win at the end of the night. And that's how they leave the show. And overall, man, Cody Rhodes should be very, very proud of what he's done here, because it really does put some of these guys into the spotlight more than they would have been. And to sell out 10,000 people... Now, let me put this in perspective. That has not happened in an independent wrestling show in 25 years. 25 years that has not happened. And they sold out 10,000 people in 25 minutes. So think about that. There's a lot more that they could do, and I see a lot of big things on the horizon if they keep stuff like this up. Like, I think Cody has really done something here. And this is the type of thing that might finally at some point give WWE some competition. Now, I will say, being that I watch WWE and watching an independent show, one thing that I do like about the presentation of WWE is that they light up the arena a lot more. You can see the crowd a lot better. And that does kind of make a difference in the overall feel of things. The independent show has a darker, grittier, dingier feel, which is cool for some people. But I like the spectacle, and I like, you know, and I understand there's money issues involved too. But the wrestling itself was very, very good. I think NXT does very, very well. And I think this did very, very well with in-ring competition. A lot better than WWE does on a regular show, to be very honest. And honestly, a lot better than WWE does on a lot of their pay-per-view shows. So, it's something that I'm going to try to get a little bit more into, you know, and try to learn more about these guys and maybe pay attention to Ring of Honor, because it looks like they got some good wrestlers in it now. So I was really happy with it, honestly, overall. Like I said, the only real negative I had on it was the very bad backstage bit with the villain, and you know, the part where they kind of cut into Cody Rhodes too quickly with the camera before he started actually bleeding and actually cut himself or whatever. And those are really the only negatives of the show. I thought it was very, very good. The wrestling in this was phenomenal at points. It really was. Some of the stuff that these guys and girls did was absolutely amazing. So I'm going to give it like an 8.5 out of 10. I think it was just that damn good. So ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That's my take on All In. First time seeing a lot of these guys. Really brought back some of my, you know, young boy wrestling fanhood. So that was cool for me. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Once again, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation out.